Thank you. But just to get started, you know what my name means? Ajahn Brahm. Hasn't been explained to you yet. The word Ajahn is for teacher, and Brahm, I had to do this once when I was thinking, ringing up the, I think it was the Archbishop's office in Perth for an event we were co-sponsoring or co-talking at, and the secretary asked, well, how do you spell that name? And I spelt it for them. It's B for Buddhist, R for Roman Catholic, A for Anglican, H for Hindu, and M for Muslim. And if any of you are from Indonesia, that's called the Pancasila. So it's a nice way just to, with a bit of humour, to create some peace and harmony between other people which you live with. But even more than that is just being able to create deeper meanings into things. Just on the same kind of topic, I'm not supposed to do guided meditation for another 15 minutes. There was also another time I was invited to one of the top Christian schools over in Perth. It was called Christ Church Grammar School. And the reason was that I had got to know the chaplain there with the work we did on cancer treatment. And so they said, why didn't you come to our school and give a talk at the assembly? And of course at the assembly, many of you may have gone to schools and Christian schools or Buddhist schools, and we always start the day with an assembly. They wanted to do it somehow religious, so why not get a Buddhist monk to come and give the talk? And as usual, I don't know what I'm going to talk about until I've got the microphone in front of my face. I make it up as I go along, literally. I always found that's the best. So we had to wait outside, first of all, for the children to all congregate inside the hall, and then I was waiting outside with the principal, the chaplain, and just me, the three of us. And once they'd all settled down, before we went into the hall, the principal said to me, look, thank you for coming. You know, I am a Christian, an Anglican. Obviously this chaplain's also an Anglican. When we go in as a little shrine to Jesus, we're going to do a little bow. You're a Buddhist, you don't need to do a bow. And at that, I rebelled. And I said to the principal, hey, I demand my right to bow to your statue of Jesus. And he looked at me just like many of you looking at me now. Who is this crazy fellow we've invited to our school? And then I explained to him that when I even bow to a statue of the Buddha, what do I bow to? Not to the piece of metal or the wood or how beautiful it is. I bow to what it means to me. And the first bow I ever do to a Buddha, what I really respect is the power of virtue, of goodness. In Pali, sila. The fact that the Buddha was trustworthy, would not lie, would always be kind and generous. So my first bow would always be to virtue. And when I bow to virtue, remember it's virtue I'm bowing to. It's like I put virtue above my head. That's how much I value it. Every time I see people being kind, being good, keeping their promises, not stealing anything, it brings a lot of happiness, a lot of peace into my life. My first bow is to virtue. And my second bow, when I bow my head down, is to peace. I love the word peace because it includes like harmony in a monastery or with a group of monastery with the other half of the Buddhist world, which I never used to see in monasteries, nuns. It's wonderful to have peace and harmony with the bhikkhunis in this world. Not just with bhikkhunis, to LGBTQIA+, I'm sure there's many more which I keep missing out. To all sorts of people, old and young, disabled, whatever. As I said yesterday, I don't like that word disabled. It's just different qualities. Other parts of them which lots of people don't value, but if you see that, it's wonderful to see those incredible people in this world. And then also to peace in the government, peace in those people who look after us, peace in our world. Whenever you see peace in the world and people weren't in harmony, now they come together in harmony, I can bow to that so easily. And even more than that, peace in your own heart, in your meditation, you get so still and peaceful. So the second bow is to peace. And again, that's so easy, I can bow to that all day. It means I respect it, I honor it, I worship it. And my third bow is like to, I used to be to wisdom, but more like compassion, kindness. If ever you see acts of real kindness, compassion, they are brilliant in this world. An example of that, over in Western Australia, that's my home state, in the north there was like a magistrate, and there was this young kid, an indigenous kid, up before the magistrate again for stealing or robbing or doing something or other. And the magistrate said, "You again." And he said, "You obviously were guilty of this crime. Now, according to the law, I'm supposed to sentence you again to juvenile detention." But he said, "I've had it with putting you in juvenile detention. I'll do a deal with you. If you promise to keep your nose clean, no crime, no disturbance for the next 6 months, I will buy you, out of my own pocket, a BMX bike. Now you can go. I'm not going to sentence you at all." And that kid was so stunned by a bit of kindness from a judge. He actually kept his promise. He didn't do anything to cause trouble for 6 months. And so the judge took him to the bike shop and brought him as a gift, they weren't related at all, a new shiny BMX bike. That did so much for that kid. It did a lot for me too, to see that kindness, compassion was more powerful than anything else. And that's just one act. I'm sure you have seen many acts of kindness and compassion. When you see that, it gets so easy to worship. So I told the principal, when I bow to a Buddha statue, that's what I bow to. Those 3 bows: virtue, peace, and compassion. And the principal understood that. So when I went in, I did a bow to the good things which I saw in Jesus. I'm not a Christian, can't bow fully, but I can see something there I can bow to. And then a few days later, the principal and half the school came to Bodhinyana Monastery, school trip. And the principal came first. And I took him inside the main hall. And together, kneeling next to me, we both bowed to the statue of Buddha. He was a devout Christian. He was saying, I'm also going to bow to virtue, peace, and compassion. When you give things meaning in life, it's very easy to do. And every time I do that bow and remember those things, my virtue gets stronger, the commitment to peace gets stronger, and the kindness. I keep on rejoicing in those wonderful acts of kindness which you see from day to day. So that's actually how we use these events in our life to grow deeper and deeper and deeper in truth, in kindness, peace, wisdom, all the good qualities. And that's one of the reasons why, being in Australia for almost 40 years now, over 40 years, first of all, no one wanted to bow to a Buddha statue. They thought, why? Especially Australians. Once it's explained to them why, and it has meaning. You have all these traditional Australians, grano workers, brick workers, goodness knows what. They love bowing to a Buddha statue because they see a very wonderful meaning in it. Got another 5 minutes before I'm supposed to start talking about meditation. You know, one of the monks years ago, he was visiting UK, he was Australian, and his host wanted to take him to like a castle, but it was closed that day. So just at the last moment, he thought, why not go to the country house called Chartwell? That was where Winston Churchill used to live. And so that was open. So he took him into this country house where Sir Winston Churchill used to live during the Second World War. And at the entrance, there was a painting of a Buddha statue, Burmese style. And of course the monk couldn't help but ask, what's that Buddha statue painting doing there? And of course the curator said that was painted by Sir Winston Churchill himself. Why did he paint a Buddha statue? Well, actually that Buddha statue was by his bedside throughout the Second World War. And somehow or other over the years it got lost. We still have the painting he did of it. And that was fascinating. Why would this British Prime Minister, with all the incredible stress of fighting a war, a Second World War, which was touch and go for such a long time, why did he have a Buddha statue by his bedside? And obviously, you can only surmise, but I would probably say that because that gave him a symbol of peace. When you can find that peace, that little tranquility, even if you don't know who the Buddha really was or what he taught, just to see it there, the kindness, the peace, the stillness. And once you can see that, it probably gave him the opportunity to have a good night's sleep and have some hope, even during some of the darkest days of our world, and being a leader at that time. So that's a little story which I always remember. Just some of the interesting parts of what a Buddha actually means. And now it becomes so easy to bow to it once you know what it means. And it makes your life a better life. Give you some kind of hope, some direction, virtue, peace, and compassion. So anyway, that's just the introduction. Now for the guided meditation. It's supposed to be a meditation retreat, but when you can get inspired, I hope that had meaning for you. Once you get inspired, the meditation gets so much more easy. You can almost like feel it inside of you, this peace, this kindness, this stillness, just growing. And it's supposed to be today the meditation for busy people. Are you busy? Not now. It's busy getting here. You'll be busy when you go home. You may be even busy for all the volunteers afterwards, arranging everybody. But right now, you have nothing to do. Somehow or other, we've lost the ability to rest, which is why one of my favorite poems, it was in the opening pages of opening the door of your heart. The opening stated, grant yourself a moment of peace. I just love the way that was put. Grant yourself the moment of peace. Don't make it, don't strive for it. If you're striving for peace, you're just creating more busyness. You're busy trying to meditate. Don't be busy at all. Instead, give yourself this gift, a moment of peace. That's how we do it. This is not to try and achieve something. That's what busyness aims to do. To get somewhere, to be someone, to get rid of something. Instead, give yourself, here's a gift, peace for 30 minutes. You don't have anything to do, you won't be judged. I used to be a school teacher before I became a monk, only for 1 year. One of the things I hated about being a school teacher was giving reports, grading kids. What a stupid thing that was, to say, you're grade A, you're grade B, you're grade C, you're grade F. you know me, Vedwala Karnika. You're just grade AAA plus. plus. But why do we grade anybody? And sometimes people believe those grades, and they don't live up to them, they live down to them. So please, in your meditation, don't grade yourself. Instead, one of the things which I do when I meditate, I say I'm going to give this 30 minutes to my teacher, either to Ajahn Chah or to the Buddha. Many of you do Sanghadana or give puja to the Buddha, Buddha puja. What do you actually give? Sometimes people give food or water or drinks or medicines. How about giving 30 minutes of your time to meditation? This is my gift to my teacher. I don't expect anything back in return. All those times I've seen Sri Lankans do Buddha puja, I've checked the drinks afterwards. The Buddha didn't take any of it. It's still there afterwards. But nevertheless, it's your kindness, your generosity, your mind state. That's what was accepted. So if you give yourself 30 minutes an offering to the teacher, then that's a good enough gift. It doesn't matter if you get peaceful or what happens. This is just to the Buddha. And then if you start thinking silly thoughts, that's not a nice thing to offer to a teacher. So you give whatever tranquility, peace, purity, stillness, whatever goodness you have inside. Peace and stillness, that's what you give. And that becomes one of the most effective ways to meditate. Let go of what you want, of trying to get something for yourself. And the meditation becomes an act of giving. Giving up, relinquishing, letting go. And soon you get so peaceful. That's a lovely way to meditate. Does that make sense to you? Well, let's actually give it a try, see if it works. So, if you can now just sit down as comfortably as you can. I'll cross my legs up here. Give me a moment. So when you're reasonably comfortable, please close your eyes. And please make that resolution. The next 30 minutes of peace is my offering. My offering to my parents, to my teachers, to all the people in the world who I respect. And if you're a Buddhist, this is an offering to the Buddha, the next 30 minutes of meditation. It's not what I can get, what I can let go of, what I can give. This is not giving money and stuff. This is a beautiful giving. Giving your heart, giving your mind. And first of all, please give it to your body first of all. We're not exploiting our body. We're caring for it. Being kind. I did mention to you yesterday that, believe it or not, I'm very healthy. Last time I had to go to a hospital about 32 years ago. Had no problems since. Because I care for my body. I get to know it really well. And I say, the next 30 minutes, body, I'm going to let you relax. Not give you any stress at all. Not forcing you to run uphill or to do push-ups. Not forcing you to use your brain and think and work out the solutions to things. Brain, body, even my senses. I'm going to close my eyelids to give my sense of sight a rest. I'm not going to go listening to things. If I hear them, fine. But I'm not going to deliberately worry about sound. Smells and tastes. Give them a break. And even feelings in my body. I'm going to sit as comfortably as I can, so most of those sensations can disappear, can vanish. So I'm not busy at all with my 5 senses. So I can start with my legs. Or just ensure that I'm sitting comfortably. When you sit cross-legged, it's a little bit more sensitive. If you're sitting on a chair, maybe move your feet away from the bottom of the chair. Move them apart, tuck them in. Move first of all to experiment to find the most comfortable position for your own legs. At the very least, that's showing that you care for your legs. It's a strange thing to say, but too many people exploit their body rather than caring for it. So I'm caring for my body, adjusting here and there until my legs become so comfortable. And I know what that comfort feels like. I've been doing this for too long. And then how does my back feel? So many people have sore backs, and that gives them more busyness to do, more problems to solve. So I find the best position for my back. Once I have that position, I can just relax, become at ease. And I can feel even the back muscles just loosening off. They're not so tight. It's like a string on either, a set of strings on either side of my spine, going down my left arm and right arm. And I loosen those, the tension on those strings. And I know once there's hardly any tension or stress, on those shoulder muscles. I know, like a guitar string which is very loose, something hits it and there's no sound. When it's stressed and strained, you hit a guitar string, ding, it makes a loud sound. When it's loose, no sound at all. That's how I understand resilience. So loose that something hits you, there's no sound. Make sure my whole arm is relaxed, even down to the tips of each finger, even the fingers holding the base of the microphone. And ensure that they are all comfortable. And back up to the neck, moving my head until I find the best position for the neck, and also the face. Making sure the muscles surrounding the eyes, the nose, the mouth are all at ease. If I see any tension, tightness, stretching or squashing in those muscles, I would endeavor to release that tension so everything can be free, at peace, easy. When I've relaxed the body, that's a gift to my body. So you can be at ease. Sometimes you do stupid things. I've fallen off a ladder repairing roofs on monasteries too many times. Good intention, but exploiting my body. Now I care for the body. And it relaxes. I can feel that relaxation. And once my body is at ease, I can let it go. Go to the realm of the mind. You know, we all know, you don't have to be a Buddhist or a meditator to know that part of meditation, part of finding peace, involves letting go of the past and the future. Intellectually, you can make the case for that so easily. But why is it sometimes difficult? And the answer is because before you let go of the past, you have to be kind to it first of all. Be compassionate, even to some of the terrible things which happened to you, or some of the bad things you did to others. Please be kind to the past. And when you start projecting to the future, please be kind to the future as well. Don't think of all the bad things which might happen. Think of all the positive experiences which might happen. That's one way of looking at being kind in the future. When you are kind, it's easier to stay with that object. Once one has let go of the past and the future, to give as much space, as much attention, as much care as you can to what's happening right now. Make peace with this moment. Be kind to this moment. Be generous by giving this moment as your gift to the Buddha. When you give a gift to nuns and monks you admire, or to the Buddha, you always try and give the very best. Give the best peace, the best kindness, and the best virtue to this moment. Just to feel how pure and peaceful the mind can become without judging, assessing. We just give, asking nothing back in return. And if you are fortunate, you'll probably be able to feel something like the breathing softly, slowly, automatically going into your body and then leaving your body. And see how light the mind can be. When you want something, the mind becomes heavy. When you want nothing in the whole world, the mind can be so light at peace, almost like floating in the air. How do you feel right now? How peaceful are you? If you can stay with that peace for long enough, it's like the mind wakes up and feels joyful. Real peace is very joyful. From tranquility of mind, we get the happiness of the mind. Passaddhi leads to sukha. Sukhino cittang samadhiyati. The happy mind easily goes into stillness. I am going to be quiet for 6 or 7 minutes now. getting close to the end of this short gift to the Buddha. How do you feel when the mind becomes still? There's always the opportunity for insight. Now's the opportunity. What does this experience feel like? Where did it come from? How peaceful are you? How relaxed? And when you are ready, please listen to the gong, and let the third sound from the gong come out from the meditation. Please come out from the meditation now. Very good. Wow, it happened again. It's amazing when I close my eyes and start teaching meditation, how the numbers of people in this hall increase. Has a multiplying effect. So hopefully you can all relax, and if you want to move or scratch or something, the best time to scratch is just before we finish the meditation, when people have got their eyes closed and they can't notice what you're scratching. Excellent. So I know the Dhamma talk, which I'm supposed to give now, again is going further on that subject of how, not just to meditate, but how to keep kind, spiritual, peaceful, at ease, when life gets very, very, very busy. I don't know about your life, but sometimes people say, Ajahn Brahm, you've got no right to talk about busyness. You live as a monk. You don't have to do anything. Yeah, is that true? Aikarunika? Venabakalika? No. Well, what are you a monk for? Aren't we supposed to be a monk for a nice, easy life? This is an easy life, even though you're busy. You have this wonderful understanding of how to be busy without getting stressed. Look, meaning of being stressed. I like to give examples because they're easy to understand, even though I was an intellectual when I was young, but now these days being more into emotional intelligence. My visual aid, the glass of water. I told you yesterday about stillness and how to get this to be perfectly still. Now about stress. What is stress? I am now going to hold this glass of water and experience what it feels like. After 1 minute, that's not 1 minute yet, about 30 seconds, I'm already starting to feel uncomfortable, stressed in my arm. It doesn't feel nice. if I keep holding like this for another couple of minutes, I will be in great discomfort. After 3 minutes, I'll be in pain. After 5 minutes, I'll be a hospital case and a very dumb monk. What should I do when it starts to get too heavy to hold comfortably? What should I do? Put it down. Rest for a minute. When I rest, my arm relaxes. It just rejuvenates. The blood starts to heal any sort of bruises or any stresses. And when I pick it up again after just 1 minute, it actually feels lighter. If you don't believe me, you can try this at home. Now that's actually the problem with people stressing out. You may be at a computer screen trying to figure out how to fix this problem, how to log in, what to write to somebody, how to finish this assignment or report to your boss. And because you keep holding it, you should notice, how do you feel? Is your brain capable of actually continuing on, or are you just fighting and getting very little returns for all that energy and effort you waste? There comes a time when you say, look, my brain is not going to work. So you put it down and rest. You know that I was born in England. In the very old days, the British had a huge empire. They lost that empire now. You know why? Because many years ago, they would always have a tea break in the morning, and a full lunch hour, and a tea break in the afternoon. Many times people laugh at that. But that was the secret of maintaining an empire. Relax. No, seriously. Do you have like a tea break at the place where you work in the morning? No. Lunch hour? Maybe half an hour if you're lucky. Tea break in the afternoon? No way. Why? Because you're too busy. That's what people say. So instead, I mentioned this yesterday, if you want to overcome busyness, but improve your output, then learn how to meditate a little bit more. Take breaks. There's one gentleman I knew years and years ago. He was a lawyer, and he said to me he'd always meditate 1 hour every day, except when he was busy. When he was busy, he would meditate 2 hours a day. Did you expect that? And there's so much wisdom in that. When he was very busy, had a lot of work to do and not much time, he meditated more in order to get his brain to become more efficient. Have you ever heard that saying that most people only use 15% of their brain? That's only a very positive estimation. I'm sure for most people it's only maybe 5%. But why is that? Why can't we actually learn how to use our brain and our energy much more efficiently and get more outcome? I remember this story that a monk told me this many years ago. I maybe get some of the details wrong, but I still remember him telling me this, that during the 2000 Sydney Olympic Games, the New South Wales government made sure there was members of all the major religions to be allowed to go into the Olympic Village just down the road from here in Homebush Bay, in Homebush, in order to look after the many athletes from around the world who were competing in the Olympic Games here in Sydney. And one of those monks told the story of an East European girl coming to see him with her parents. She wasn't a Buddhist, but she came to see this monk because she was in a field event, I think some 800 meters or something, and unexpectedly she managed to get into the final. It was a sprint event. And she knew in a couple of days' time she would be in front of the TV cameras of the world competing for a medal in the Sydney Olympic Games. If you feel you get stressed out sometimes, imagine that. Millions of people watching you all around the world, and your parents, friends, people you grew up with, especially looking at you. And that's mega stress. So her parents were telling her, or telling this monk, that my daughter is not even sleeping properly. She can't train properly. She's overly stressed out. Help! Can you teach her some quick meditation? And apparently, that's what this monk did. Taught her the basics of meditation. And the monk doesn't watch the TV, so the monk never knew what happened next. It was only a few days after the event, a day after the event apparently, that he saw her and her two parents walking towards him in the Olympic Village. And he saw they were smiling. I remember this is how he wrote the article. I think it was in the Sydney newspaper. And as they were coming closer, she saw the athlete in the middle between her parents was swinging something on the end of a string. As they came closer, he noticed the colour, gold. She'd won a gold medal. And she came to say thank you to this monk who taught her how to relax so she could exceed her expectations. I always remember that story. I always regret not keeping the newspaper cutting, which actually gave all the details. I often mention that when I give talks in Indonesia and Sri Lanka and Thailand and Vietnam. How many Sri Lankans have won a gold medal at the Olympic sprint events? How many Vietnamese? How many Cambodians? How many Thais? Why not? You have all these extra resources, like learning how to be very peaceful and not to have any stress. Especially, I often wonder why all these Thais who practice meditation, at least you should get a gold medal in the high jump. Levitate. Honestly, many years ago, having come to live in Western Australia, this fellow called up, he was a prisoner in Bunbury jail in south of Western Australia. And he said, first of all, it took him months to get permission to make this telephone call. And I believed him. And he said, I can't speak to you long, because I haven't, I'm a prisoner, I'm not allowed to. But look, can you please come and teach meditation in our prison? And once I found out this guy was for real, he'd gone to so much effort to get me to come and teach meditation, of course I had to go. When I went there, and I was surprised, the prison population at that time, maybe almost just under 40 years ago, was about 110 prisoners. About 105 of them came to my talk. And I thought, wow, these people are very motivated. They really want to do something with their lives. And if people are like that, they really want to do the best they possibly can in their lives, I'm going to come every week for them. So anyway, I really got motivated to give the best possible talk I could on meditation. And after 5 or 10 minutes, this really big guy, full of scars, stood up, put his hand up, and said, "Can I ask a question?" One thing I've learned, if you're giving a talk in prison and a big guy with scars asks to ask a question, you always say, "Yes, sir." These are some tough dudes. But that particular prisoner, over the months, the years, he became a really good friend. I'm just going off on a tangent here, as I like doing. He was one of the ones when we had this new security system in one of the jails, and they gave us a pen as we checked into the prison, a little biro pen. They said, "Yes, you can write with this, but this is really a security device." And he said, on the ceilings you see some new smoke detectors. They're not smoke detectors. If you get attacked, point that pen at one of those detectors, press the top, and the alarm will go off. We'll know exactly where you are, we'll come and save you. So put it in your pocket. And I told the prison officer checking me in, "I don't have a pocket, I'm a monk." That's true, there's no pockets on me at all. I just hold it. So as soon as I went into my class, this guy, the same guy who interrupted me at first, he said, "Oh, you've got one of those security devices as well, have you?" So it's top secret. "Yeah, of course." And he laughed. They all know what's going on. But then he looked at me and said quite seriously, "Ajahn Brahm, do you think you can even press the top of that pen before I jumped you and raped you?" Many of these prisoners had nothing to lose. And I said, "No, you're probably way too fast." He said, "Yes, I am." But you know, I never felt afraid, because what he said next I knew he would say. He said, "But look, we like you in this jail. You've been very kind to us. If anyone's in the back try anything like that, I will jump them first." That's how you felt. If you're kind to others, you get so much kindness back. But anyway, this is what this guy, he became a good friend. But on this occasion, when he put his hand up, "Can I ask a question?" "Yes, sir, what is your question?" And I'm not changing the words. This is exactly what he said. He said, "Ajahn Brahm, is it true that through meditation you can learn how to fly over walls?" And when I said, "Oh, it takes years and years and years, you have to be very skilled to do anything like that," he was disappointed. And so was I next week when only about 2 or 3 people turned up for my meditation class. You know exactly what they're up to. They want to meditate so they can escape over the walls. But nevertheless, when you can just take a break, be peaceful, then you find your brain has a chance to start to work efficiently. That's why you used to have a break in the morning, a break in the afternoon, a break at lunchtime. You get more work done that way. your brain is more efficient. I just learned that during educational psychology. I said I was a teacher for 1 year. If you don't give those kids, and the teachers too, a chance just to empty out your brain, you can't absorb very much, you can't perform very much. You do need those times of breaks. And I still also remember another lawyer, many, many years ago, and he was in New York at a time when they had a death penalty there. He was a criminal lawyer, defending people who were accused of things like murder. And I imagine the stress of that job. If you make a mistake, your client will not be able to pay the bills. You'll go to the electric chair. So that's high stress. And so he was just stressing out so much, bad for his health. Just, you're defending someone against the death penalty. So eventually, with his secretary, they decided to clean out one of the cupboards in the office, just a small cupboard. And they turned that into his meditation room. And his secretary, he told me, would lock him in his cupboard for half an hour every lunch hour. Put him in there and lock the door. And anybody called, I'm sorry, he's in his cupboard. He's not coming out until 1:30 or something. And she did that, and he asked her to do that, because that made him a much more efficient lawyer. Half an hour of meditating in a little cupboard was enough for him to relax, rest, and sometimes get some amazing insights into how he could find some angle to save his client from the death penalty. Or the other benefit, his secretary said she's so happy to do that, to lock him away for half an hour, because he's such a nicer boss after you put him in his cupboard for half an hour every lunch hour. So if you've got a husband who's always on you, always giving you a hard time, find a cupboard in your house and lock him in there for half an hour every day. The same goes to a wife as well. She's just blah, 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 blah. Find a cupboard, lock her in. Because that degree of peace, when you can't be busy because you've got nothing to do, and you learn just when you're in your cupboard, your meditation cushion, or me, I've got a cave. I lock myself in there a lot of times every day in order to just relax and be peaceful. Yes, I do have a lot of responsibilities to perform. My responsibilities. I am the head monk, abbot of Bodhinyana Monastery. We've also got this big retreat centre in Jhana Grove. I got the Buddhist Society of Western Australia, the city centre, where I'm the spiritual director. I'm also, they don't call me spiritual director anymore. They call me spiritual dictator. Spiritual dictator of Western Australia. Also, the Dhammasara Nuns Monastery. It's a very small monastery, 2 square kilometres. You've been there. Honestly, it's a beautiful monastery. One of the things I love when I go in there and introduce people and say, come and look at our nuns monastery. You go in the centre of that monastery and you look around, you can see the hills surrounding it. They all belong to the monastery. That's all nuns' space. And they deserve it. It's gorgeous. That's how much you value bhikkhunis. I know that, okay, I'm going off tangent again, that when we decided to get a place for bhikkhunis in Perth, I remember just being taken by this couple to look at 30 acres, down the other side of Midland in Western Australia. And straight away, 30 acres? You can do better than that. I said, no, we've only got a certain amount of money, we can't sort of overspend. And when we went down that road, Reen Road, we saw this big sign, 583 acres of solitude. It was very good advertising, it got me straight away. I said, let's have a look. And they said, no, it's a waste of time, we can't afford it. It doesn't cost anything to have a look. So we went and have a look. And that was a start. It was being sold by auction. And auction means no one knows what the price is going to be. So we collected some funds here and funds there. Like people like you, can you just offer us anything to buy this piece of land? And eventually we collected 600,000. That was a lot of borrowing from all sorts of people, interest-free loans. So that was our limit. So together with one of the other monks, that was Ajahn Brahm, we went down there early, an hour early before the auction would start. My goodness, we did some heavy chanting. We really chanted and chanted and chanted and chanted. This was important. Then we went for the auction. And the auction was really exciting. So they started about 200,000, do I hear 250, 250, 300, 300, 325, 325, 400, 400, 450. Have you been to auctions in Sydney? That's what they do. And when they go higher and higher, they go faster and faster. Do I hear 500, 500, 525, 525, 550, 550, 550, 575? And then our guy, 600,000. That was our limit. And then I started chanting again. Please. Everybody shut up. Please no more. And then this guy put his hand up. 625. I felt so disappointed. We'd lost it. And then the person bidding for us, if any of you ever meet him, Eddie Fernando, he was my hero that day. 650? And I was standing next to our treasurer. And the treasurer said, stop him, Ajahn Brahm, we can't afford this, stop him. He's going crazy, he's got no permission to do this. So my job was to shut Eddie Fernando up. Stop it. We'll find some way. And 650 was the last bid. We got it. We couldn't afford it. Then anyway, what the heck? It will come somehow or other. Remember, Niroda, you were there at that time. Good old Eddie. Eventually, just put the word around, borrowing here, borrowing from there. We finally managed to pay the bills. Totally broke afterwards, as usual. That's actually how we got those things. Incredible amount of faith and trust and joy in doing something beautiful. That's that inspiration. I never even let meditation be without inspiration. So yeah, we are busy. We know how to get things done, to enjoy every moment of this path. And afterwards, we can sit down and meditate, knowing we've done something very beautiful for Buddhism in Australia. The first bhikkhuni monastery, actually nuns monastery, 4 nuns, run by nuns, Theravada, here in Australia. And my goodness, it's gone from strength to strength to strength. So those are the things which inspire. And when it's called busyness, it's amazing just how much you can kind of achieve. So also, just getting that thing started. Even Santi Monastery, Remember Ayya Nirodha, that was in your purchase many years ago. It was very hard to get someone to look after it. So who's one of the first spiritual directors of that? Yes, me. If I don't do enough, spiritual director of the Santi monastery, so I was very happy to find a great nun like Ayya Karunika to take that over now. It's important that somebody actually lives there who knows exactly what's needed. Well done. So it's very busy to do all these things. Not only that, what else am I responsible for? Spiritual patron of the Buddhist Fellowship in Singapore, spiritual director of the Cambodian Buddhist Society here over in Perth, spiritual director of this. I've got so many spiritual directors of, and spiritual patrons of, and spiritual sponsors for, I forget. But that's not the point. The point is, whenever I need to take a break, I sit down, put things down, let go, relax. And then actually your productivity goes up. When your productivity goes up, you look at all the amazing things which, together with each one of you, what we do. Do you remember those old ships they had 200, 300 years ago? The sailing ships. They used to have the figurehead at the front. This picture of somebody or carving of somebody in the front of the boat. I always think that's me. I'm the one who takes all the poo from the seagulls. But it's the people in the back, they're the ones who actually make the boat work. The responsibilities, the main duties, I'm not just up there to take the lead and to take the poo. I always just say that in a convoy, it's always the front car gets all the poo on the windscreen. The ones behind, the tailgate, but you're the most important. It's just like sometimes one of my duties, sometimes at first I could never understand why this was the case. But after lots of consideration, I realized you lay people were correct. You taught me something important. Why is it that when some of you get married, why you always invite a monk or a nun to give a blessing for you? Especially someone like me. I've never been married. When I'm here, there's somebody who said they were traveling all the way from Canada to meet me. That's Davney and Max. Are you here? Davney and Max? Okay, you said you were coming today, maybe tomorrow or something. They just got engaged recently. Max just got through a lymphoma cancer. So I'd love to give them a blessing if they can come today sometime. Find out later on. But anyway, why? Why is a monk? What's a monk got to do with giving a blessing for somebody getting engaged or married? I say, I've never been married. What do I know? Well, one of the reasons they do that is some of the wisdom you have. One of the things I always say, especially if it's like there's many Sri Lankans here, a Sri Lankan wedding, or even an Indonesian wedding, a Vietnamese, Thai, Sri Lankan. I always tell people that when you're single, it's like just an animal with their own two legs. They can go wherever they want. You're independent. But once you get married, you're like one animal with 4 legs. Like an elephant. You have to go in the same direction. But you may also know, according to, say, Sri Lankan tradition, the front legs of the elephant have to be male, and the back legs have to be the female. Don't worry, you haven't heard the punchline yet. The front legs have to be the guy, the back legs have to be the female. But if ever you go to Sri Lanka, you'll find all the elephants walk backwards. Get used to it, guys. That's how it works. You're all laughing, so there must be some truth in that. But nevertheless, all those duties which you have to do, you can see I always do them with a lot of humour. Even some of the duties which I do of funerals. You know, the first time I told a joke at a funeral service. When's the last time you went to a funeral service? You know, the monk or the priest or whatever it is, they're in the front, and all the people are looking. You know, they always pay attention at a funeral service. That's one thing I like about funeral services. Nobody checks their emails. But look, honest, I'm telling some of these stories. But there was this one lady, she was Sri Lankan, had a very bad cancer, and her family paid for her to go to Singapore to get this really expensive operation, the best she could possibly get. But it wasn't working. So her sister, Sinhalese, was in Singapore looking after the sister who was dying, called me up. It was during our rains retreat. We were supposed to be having a rest then. He said, look, this is really important. I don't think my sister has many days to live. So, okay, fair enough. So for 3 nights, I just did some counselling for her sister over the phone from Perth to Singapore Hospital. And she listened. She could hardly speak herself. You know, she was, I think, paralysed from the neck down. But she could say a few words. And I gave her all the blessings. The 4th night, she never rang, or her sister never rang. You figured out what must have happened. She died that night. The next night, her sister rang again. She said, you know, my sister died yesterday. I said, yes, I guessed that. But he said, I needed to tell you this. About 12 hours after she died, her sister, the one who's alive, received an email from her. Please thank Ajahn Brahm for all his help and chanting. It was said, I checked, I asked, are you sure about this? This was after she passed away? Yes. So I learned something from that. I learned at last what Gmail means. Ghost mail. They have Wi-Fi up there. I haven't changed Venerable Akali code. No, you haven't. Still the same old bug. But anyway, that was true. Actually, she sent, I don't know how this happens, checked it, sent an email after she died. And she couldn't have prepared that before, it was impossible. But anyway, this is even during deaths. And you always don't make it a burden. Then your duties are very easy to perform and very light. And so that's when I told the story. Actually, I was telling this joke. The funeral directors in the back, they're always wearing black. Really depressing. Wouldn't it be nice if you had a funeral service here where they wear Hawaiian shirts and just, you know, nice, colourful costumes? Would you like that? Yeah, okay. You can start a Buddhist funeral directors. But anyway, when they figured out I was going to tell a joke, they were looking at me. But honestly, all that served to do was encourage me. I'm not getting paid anything, so I'm going to do what I think is the right thing to do. And so I told the joke, and the whole family was so happy. It just, you know, broke the somberness of the occasion. And I will now tell you that joke as well. Tina was going, no. Thank you for encouraging me. So there was an elderly couple, And I've actually seen, this is not a joke, I've seen this many times, when one elderly couple have been married for years, when one dies, the other one tends to die within a few days. It's as if, that they don't know how to be alone. So these two people died within days of each other. And they appeared in this heavenly realm. And there they saw this angel take them to this mansion on the cliffside. In New South Wales, that'd be a multi-million-dollar mansion. And the heavenly being said, because of all of your good karma, this is your heavenly mansion to enjoy for as long as you wish. And the guy took one look at it and said, look, there's only crooks or politicians can get a mansion like this. I thought that would get a joke. Crooks or politicians. And he said, but look, someone like me, I'm an ordinary guy. I don't earn enough money to pay the council rates. And the angel said one important piece of insight about heavenly realms. They don't have counsellors up in heavenly realms. It's all for free. And he took them inside this multi-roomed mansion that had these huge widescreen TV sets. He said, we know how you always like to watch the rugby on the screen. I don't follow rugby. Who's the best rugby team in Sydney? I'm checking out to see what you get up to. You don't know Manly? That's a rugby team? Oh, it's supposed to be Manly. I know how much you love to watch your rugby team, Manly. You can watch them on this widescreen TV because this is in heaven. You'll always find they're losing up until the last 5 minutes, and then they finally score a couple of goals and win. This is heaven. And it took him inside. There's amazing chandeliers all over the place, Waterford crystal. It took him into the bathroom. Not an ordinary bathroom. This had the toilet seat, solid gold. And where you press the button to flush it, not a button, there was a diamond there. And when you pressed it, water never came out. Chanel No. 5 came out. And the guy said, look, this is a bit too much for me. I can't afford the insurance premium. And the angel said, what are you talking about? There's no insurance up in heaven. We don't allow thieves up here. Just enjoy. Then he took him to the garage, a treble garage. The first car in there was a stretch limo. I mean, really stretched. Had a swimming pool in the back. So, I increase this every time I tell the story. The second car was one of these all-terrain vehicles. Incredibly powerful. He said this one could even go up waterfalls. Straight up. And the third car was a Bugatti. Sports car with a sunroof. And he said, this is one of the fastest cars in the world. I know how you always would love to drive sports cars, so we've got you one. And this man said straight away, look, what's the point of having a sports car in Sydney? Too many police cameras. And the angel rolled his eyes and said, listen, sir, there's no police up in heaven, no speed cameras. You can go as fast as you like. It doesn't matter if you have an accident, you're already dead. So the guy smiled and said, okay, fair enough. And then I opened the garage doors. On the opposite side of the road was this amazing 18-hole golf course. And he said this golf course was designed by Tiger Woods himself. He said, well, how come? He's still alive. Do you remember that time he had that big argument, break up with his wife? And he drove his car and he crashed it? Few people know he had an out-of-the-body experience for 5 minutes. And that's when he designed the golf course up in heaven for these two. And on this heavenly golf course, doesn't matter whichever way you putt the ball, it always goes into the hole. Every time. Always misses the bunkers. You never have to queue to tee off. And he said, well, it's very, very nice, but that is a very elite golf club. People of my sort don't ever get an invitation to join. And then the angel said, sir, you're not a life member, you're a death member. Enjoy it however much you want. And that's when the angel left them. Now imagine that, you just go into a heaven realm, you've got a beautiful mansion, beautiful TV sets, gold toilets, Chanel No. 5 comes out, great cars, and a golf course on the opposite side of the road. How on earth could that husband, as soon as the angel left, get upset at his wife? He was very angry at her, started scolding her, and she couldn't understand why. Why are you so unhappy? We've got all these beautiful heavenly gifts. Why are you so unhappy at me? Said the wife. And the husband said, because. You already know the punchline, you're laughing. Because wife. Because wife. You said you loved me. If it wasn't for all that health food you gave me over the last 4 years, I could have been up here a long time ago. Am I getting any health food at lunchtime? No, okay, good. So that was the story I told at the funeral service. And a lot of times, if you sense it and do it right, the whole family said, thank you, thank you, thank you. He would have loved that story. Even a few people kind of heard the coffin rattling a bit. He must have been laughing. But anyway, telling little stories like that sometimes give the thing meaning, but also with some joy and happiness as well. That's one of the reasons why, I become a monk. What's my nickname in Sri Lanka? On the books, which people compose, they transcribe it from my talks. You know what my nickname is in Sri Lanka? The Smiling White Monk. Is that all right to smile as a monk? If any of you have any doubts at all, please look in the, what's it called? The Dhammacchedya Sutta. This is straight from the word of the Buddha. It's in the Majjhima Nikaya. There, the king Pasenadi, who was one of the powerful monarchs in India at that time, his city was called Savatthi. And just outside of Savatthi, within walking distance, was the Jetavana monastery, Anathapindika's park, where the Buddha spent so much time, so many years of his life. And so the king, when he finished work in the evening, would often just walk over to see the Buddha. This was one of the last times when the king went to see the Buddha. And when he went to see the Buddha, he told the Buddha, he said, the Buddha actually asked him, "Now why do you keep coming here?" And the king said, "Because every time I come into this monastery, all the monks and nuns are always happy and smiling." When he said that, the Buddha said, "Yes, that is what is to be expected when the monks and nuns are practicing meditation properly and also getting great insights. That's how you know if they've understood the meditation and they've also got insights. They're happy." You read that for yourself, Dhammacedya Sutta. It's like a photograph of the Sangha in the time of the Buddha. And that's one of the reasons why I love meditating, because that's where the smile comes from. Sense of peace and joy and bliss and happiness. So sometimes that is also an amazing marketing tool for the Dhamma. Would you like to be smiley and happy? All of your kids, I'm not sure, not many young people here. I'm talking about 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Honestly, what would attract you to someone of the other gender? Just how they look, their clothes, their strength. What is one of the most attractive and cheapest of adornments? Honestly, a smile. That costs nothing. But if you're with someone who's smiley, you can trust them, and they're just joyful, at peace with themselves, happy with themselves. You can see a fake smile very quickly, but a real smile, a happy, peaceful person. Wouldn't you like to be with those people? Ask your children, and that's much, much better. A smiley person, if they're coming from virtue, peace, compassion, my goodness, that's a very attractive quality in a human being. If, their hair is not nice, you can always go to a spa and get a wig. If there's something wrong, you can go to Seoul and get a face transplant. But happiness, where can you get happiness? You get happiness from Santi Spa over in Bandanu. Go to a monastery and learn how to smile and be happy. And even funerals, don't take them so seriously. Can you do that? Why not? I was in the northeast of Thailand for over 8 years, almost 9 years. And where we lived was in a charnel ground. Wat Nana Chat began as a forest set aside for people in that area when they died to be cremated. So it's usually about 3 or 4 cremations a week. And I remember just seeing so many cremations. And the next day, you would see the family on arms round. Now, being honest with you again, in those years, only once did I see tears in one of the relations, in the wife who just lost her husband. There was no sadness. And that was shocking, because I'd always expected there to be sadness when someone passes away. There was a sense of peace. They were so accepting of when death happened. And that was so shocking for me. I saw it again and again and again and again and again, hundreds of times. I realized that grief is something we add to loss. It's a cultural addition. We've learned how to grieve. Because I saw in the communities over there, they weren't denying death, it was right in front of them. They'd always actually go up to the open coffin to pat the person or give them a kiss or whatever, say goodbye. It wasn't closed like it is here in Australia. Even when that coffin is open in Australia, the embalmers have done their job first of all. Sometimes the embalmers are so good that sometimes the wife goes up there and asks the brother, is that really your brother up there? I've seen that myself. The embalmers make you look so different. They try and do the best, but sometimes they don't get it correctly. So, people who see, the raw death, sometimes they're much more accepting of it. It's a beautiful thing to see. They're at peace, accepting. And it's from that which I learned that, again, grief is what we add on to loss. It's not inherent to loss. All the crying in the world doesn't bring anybody back. All the tears. You can understand where it comes from, but sometimes you understand what the remedy is. And I've already said that remedy quite a few times during this talk, just to one or two people, about when you go to a concert. When you go to a concert, do you ever cry at the end of a concert? Apparently Taylor Swift is in Australia right now. She's already given her first concert. Did people cry after the concert had finished? Yesterday, my first talk here, I never saw anybody cry after I finished. I like that simile of music, because you appreciate the wonderful performance. Yes, you stand up and shout, more, more, more. But you never cry once the performance is finished. And that's very often, I mentioned this to someone, my father died. My father died, I was only 16. It was like the end of a great performance. That's how I felt. I never felt like crying. I felt, that was a wonderful man. I felt so privileged to have known him for all those years. Thank you. Never felt sad. To this day, it's over 50 years ago, more than that, yes, 56 years ago, I've never cried remembering my father's death. You feel this beautiful sense of thank you, gratitude. I never ever thought what was taken away. I only thought what I'd had. 16 years with a very loving, caring, wise man. So because of that, you can actually understand that even though you have many duties, you have duties as a son, as a daughter, duties as a parent. There's no need to make that a heavy burden, but a joyful one. A lot of times, yes, I have to come and help out and serve, but today I say thank you to Aya Karunika. Thank you for inviting me. I don't get angry. You invited me again, I've got so many other duties to do, blah, 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 blah. But thank you. But I think now I see that was the president, wasn't it? Is that the lunch duty? Sorry? Lunch? Lunch hasn't arrived. As for me, I'm not worried at all. That's why, being a monk, that is often the case. So that's why I always keep something spare in here. But please know, I know that many of you think, Ajahn Brahm, you should look after your health. And I do. People think this is fat. This is not fat. I'll tell you what this is. I think you'll agree that, and I'm a pretty compassionate monk. I'm kind to many people and animals as well. And so every year as a monk you practice kindness, sharing loving kindness. Every year my heart grows a bit bigger. Many years ago, my heart grew so big, it was actually pressing against my rib cage. And it couldn't go any further out, so it went down and out. It's a big heart. A big time. You don't agree with that? Vinavakala, go. Very big heart, okay, thanks. That's good enough. So anyway, you have duties to perform. You've got to do them anyway, no matter who you are, no matter what form of life you are. When you do the duties, do them with a lot of fun and joy. And the other thing is, when you ask somebody else, no lunch today. It's ready now. Oh, what a disappointment. So now, again, I have to do my duties with a lot of loving kindness to the food. Because you know where that food came from? Each one of you. That's one of the beautiful things about being a monk. The duty is to receive your food with kindness and respect. And what is the purest food? The purest food is food given with a pure heart. The kindness and the research which you've done to find out what Ajahn Brahm likes. You know, I'll just tell you this quick story. Many, many, many years ago, when I went to Sri Lanka, he got an invitation to have breakfast with the first Rajapaksa president. What was his name again? The first one? Mahinda Rajapaksa, yeah. And when I went there, he came, and when he came out, he'd obviously just come out of bed. He was rubbing his eyes, really tired. And I'll share this with you because I respected him for saying this. He said to me, I am a failure. And this was when he was at the height of his popularity. And I said, why? And he said, because I joined politics to find a peaceful solution to the war they were having at the time with the Tamil Tigers. And he said, I couldn't find that peaceful solution. I failed. And to have a senior politician like that being honest, there's no other way you could interpret that, really impressed me. And almost as much as what he did next, he served me breakfast, with his own hand. You know what he served me? It was not dal, it was not rice. Baked beans. He'd done his research. Thank you. So that's a nice little personal memory I have of him. So thank you. Okay, so now I should shut up and have some lunch. So thank you all for listening. I don't know if that's a Dhamma talk which I should have given about duties, but anyway, that's what you got. Now I'm going to see what I get for my lunch. We're back at 1:30. Is that correct?
Yes.
1:30 for Dhamma discussion.
1:30, come back for Q&A. And lunch is right outside, so please feel free to help yourself.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Okay, fine. So thank you all for listening. Sadhu.